Experience tranquility. Pass into the iris.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Iris Podcast. My name is Bowsy, and I'm your host for today. Joining me, we have NPC and we have Capital. How are you two doing this fine day?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I mean, long time coming. I've been excited. So, Iris Podcast. Yeah, let's get into it.
Absolutely, Iris Podcast. Gonna be interesting to see. The first week is in the books, and that is a great thing to see because we didn't expect the first week to go as smoothly as it did. But we're going to be wrapping it up here with our first section of the day, which is Amp It Up. I'm going to be asking you guys some questions. Just tell me about your things from week one. First off, your favorite moment from last week. NPC, we'll start with you.
Well, I'm kind of filling in for Apathy here today, so I've got Apathy's notes, and I'm gonna go ahead and read some of his answers. His answer here was Spuds versus Joey, and I kind of agree with that. It was a very close match. Their fourth time playing in Stage 1. Apparently, they play each other every single Stage 1. Unfortunately, Joey has kept the streak. That's what he wrote. Don't clip me on that one. Although I do kind of agree. I think the SEAL Team Spuds are they're going to be a good team. But I like seeing the Joey esports, and I like seeing rivalries. I love seeing those rivalry games, and that's always a fun thing to see.
Long-standing rivalry is always fun to experience. Capital, what about you?
I mean, I think my favorite moment of last week was the Kusanagi Big Bang Buccaneers matchup. Got to see a new team come out. We haven't seen Kusanagi, a new team to like the community overall. They took it to an older team with some pedigree, some notoriety within the community. And kind of got that upset win. It was a really big upset win. And I hope that we get to see lots of new teams kind of like become a lot better. I'm really excited.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of good teams coming into the Tranquility for the first time this season. And EX Kusanagi, definitely no exception, taking down the #1 seed last season in the playoffs in Big Bang Buccaneers. So definitely a good start for them. For me, I liked a lot of the parity and sort of differences we saw in all the games. Like, we saw a lot of close matchups. There were 4 draws, 8 map 5s. There were a lot of upsets throughout the entirety of the week. So week 1, definitely delivering in terms of that competition aspect. Be interesting to see how well it develops throughout the rest of the season. Now let's head into the future. What are you most looking forward to as we enter week number 2, NPC?
Apathy wrote down here that he wants to see flashbacks versus Ace High. And as much as everybody wants to see Ace High lose to flashbacks, I'm actually excited to see the Death Cards play again. I've talked to people from Death Cards and Ganzu Gangsters, and they were both like, "Oh yeah, we're just messing around. We're just kind of memeing this season. We're taking it easy." And every team says that, but that mentality can only last so long. We got to see a little bit of kind of playing around, a little bit of memeing, a little bit coming from the Death Cards, but losing will get into your mental, and at some point throughout the season you'll be like, okay, let's focus a little bit more, let's just try a little bit harder. And once we see the Death Cards actually start putting their full potential out there, I think we're going to see a much different team coming out of that roster.
Capital, what about you? Your favorite moment from last week?
From last week, what I'm looking forward to this week at least.
Or yeah, what I mean.
Chicago Deep Dish versus Galactic Gimmons. I mean, both these teams got off to a strong start. Obviously, Galactic Gimmons against the Cosmic Castaways, and Chicago Deep Dish taking down Monarch. Both teams looking to kind of separate themselves from the pack a little, get to that 2-0, take down another 1-0 person in their pool, and kind of make a good pedigree for themselves earlier on. Again, this is like how these first 3 weeks are about building your notoriety within the community, and this matchup is super big for both teams, I think.
Definitely going to be interesting to see how well they do and how well those teams do in their matchup. I am going for a little bit of a throwback to last season. This week features the Battle of the Birds Season 9 edition, the Fire-Breathing Rubber Duckies versus Galactic Penguins, a well-known matchup if you were in the Tranquility community last season. Be interesting to see which one comes out on top, especially with Fire-Breathing Rubber Duckies. A rough week 1, Galactic Penguins a very good week 1, so we'll see which one comes out on top in the reuniting of the Battle of the Birds. Finally, it's time to make some bold predictions here for the remainder of the season. NPC, we'll start with you. What is your bold prediction for the remainder of the season?
All right, Apathy has written down something here. He says Discord Aurum A will end in a rock paper scissors tournament with 3-4-1 teams, and that A pool is just going to come down to the map differential. And I can't disagree with that. I looked at the Aurum A. You got Monarch, Deep Dish, Hammerhead, Ragnarok, Cosmic Castaways, Gibbons. There's a lot of good talent there, and I feel like we're gonna see probably Deep Dish, Gibbons, and maybe Ragnarok is kind of the top 3. But the other 3 are also really good teams, and I feel like he's kind of right there. We're gonna see a lot of 4-1 teams in that pool, and it's just gonna come down to map differential. So map differential is gonna matter, especially in that pool.
Discord A, definitely going to be an interesting pool to watch this season based off of that. Capital, what about you?
Yeah, and I went similarly with Apathy/NPC. I agree with the parity with Discord or MA, but I also think that in Indigo Pool B and Harmony tier, I think there's going to be a lot of parity as well. I know Flashbacks is in that pool, but F9W2, Ace High, and Narwhal Connects are going to be really close. And throughout the season, I think those 4 teams in specific are all going to end up as top 4 seeds come playoff time.
Definitely going to be interesting to see how well Indigo B does in the Harmony tier. And speaking of Indigo B, actually goes into my bold prediction for the remainder of the season. And that is the point that I made, that Flashbacks, if they get into A pool, and I'm gonna assume, let's say they're undefeated. Let's say Flashbacks go 5-0 in Stage 1. I think that they will have the lowest map differential of all A pool teams. If you consider that they would be undefeated and if they make A pool, I think they would have the lowest map differential of all teams because their performance thus far, they have yet to sweep a team this season, which is very interesting. They've played 4 teams so far in the season, considering the preseason as well. So it'll be interesting to see if they can try to pick it up a little bit and see if they're able to bring that back into their favor. I mean, Capital's here, so he can try to tell me or try to swing that into his favor.
I don't think so. I mean, I think what matters is wins, and I'm confident in the team. Pulling out those tough wins shows that mental toughness, and that's what really matters come playoff time. We're preparing. Overwatch 2 is going to be a different game. So, I mean, as long as we're getting those wins, we're pulling those out. It's all about making a team better, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But also, like, A-pool teams are the top 2 teams in the pool as well. There's probably going to be like a 3-2 team that makes A-pool. There always is. And having a higher differential than like a 5-0 4-1 team, if Flashbacks does do that well, is a pretty bold take. So I mean, it goes with the segment.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely can go with the segment, but that's going to wrap it up here for our Amp It Up section. Definitely going to be interesting to see how well these plays go on throughout the week. And speaking of plays, we have our weekly videos to show you. First off is our weekly montage. Of course, we show off a montage of all the plays that we witnessed here in Tranquility from the week. This one was edited by Manny. Thank you very much, Manny, for editing this week's weekly montage.
Looked up in the sky, think I seen a plane, think I seen a plane, think I seen a plane, looked up in the sky, think I seen a plane, think I seen a plane, think I seen a plane. Yeah. Which side? Yeah, we do it on King Dog. I bite and you play dog. I don't like the way that you play dog. Every night we back in the man. Third of my shows, back in the man. On stage, you move, so we laughing again. Gonna work all day with the pad and the pen. Look up in the sky, see a plane, see a bird. OCD, we go to work. OCD, we go berserk. Got me and the team is super genius. Now we off in outer space. Push them off and out the way. Get that coffin out my face. I said, do that to the break of dawn. Right now we gotta break them in. Right now we gotta break them off. Right now we gotta break them in. Every night that we leave you, don't get mad, don't get that. You text me and I text back. I'm in first place and you dead last. So looked up in the sky, think I seen a plane. Think I seen a plane. Think I seen a plane. Looked up in the sky, think I seen a plane. Think I seen a plane. Think I seen a plane. Every time that we pull up, every time that we
all vibe.
Every time we look down, this life is all that we know. I say this life is all that we know. Life is all that we know. Every time we look down, this life is all that we know. I say it every time that we go up. Every time that we go. Every time we look down, this life is all that we know. I say this life is all that we know. Life is all that we know. Every time we look down, this life is all that we know. What you know about speakeasy? What you know about them alcoholics? What you know about a 2-time offender killer who extra cautious? Tell me something about a real club kid, better known as a Pennsylvania junkie. Them cats, they don't be scared. Mess around and take your money. Now look, if you pay what you make, let a crew say what you say. Eat Fridays on Tuesdays, make champagne from Kool-Aid. No play stuff, we bluff for real. Ride or die, we stuck for real. Yeah, times been hella hard. Let me know if you love me still. Let's hire my Brody homies to be our Coroni roadies. Kill for my Betty boys, remind me of Jody. plane. Think I seen a plane. Think I seen a plane. Look up in the sky. Think I seen a plane. Think I seen a plane. Think I seen a plane.
Every time that we pull up, every time that we go, every time we look down, this life is all that we know. I say this life is all that we know. Life is all that we know. Every time we look down, this life is all that we know. I say it every time that we pull up, every time that we go, every time we look down, this life is all that we know. I say this life is all that we know. Life is all that we know. Every time we look down, this life is all that we know.
Look up in the sky. Think I seen a plane. Think I seen a plane. Think I seen a plane. Look up in the sky. Think I seen a plane. Think I seen a plane. Think I seen a plane.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you, Manny, for that amazing weekly montage video. Really good to see all those highlights. If you want to be in that video, make sure you submit it in the montage channel in the Discord here. So if you want to be in those videos for every single week, we try to grab as many as possible. Some don't make the cut, but still, be interesting to see if yours does. Now we're going to be moving on to a staple here on the Iris podcast, the Iris top teams. Every single week, our content team groups together into a specialized meeting and tries to rank out what the top 4 and top 8 teams are, depending on each division. So we have our top 4 and top 8, and we're going to start off with Harmony EU and our top 4 in there. Starting off in Harmony EU, our top 4 there. In 4th place is Feeders Divided. 3rd place, Mythical Kitsune. Second, that is the wrong, I just noticed that is the wrong tier. Give me a second to fix that. I am totally prepared for this, and it's not just because I had to fix all the keybinds and whatnot. I'll get that fixed in a second here. I will say the actual ones here. 4th place is Celsius 5 2022. Hope Guardians in 3rd. Brig Divers in 2nd. And it's Dino Nuggies in 1st for the rankings. NPC, what are your thoughts on those rankings as I get them sorted here?
I think that's actually a pretty good list. It's pretty solid. EU is you know, it's still new. It's the 2nd season for EU, and so you know it's still kind of up in the air. And we have a lot of returning players coming from various teams last season, shuffling around, making new teams, lots of new teams with familiar faces, that kind of thing. So it's really kind of hard to tell after just 1 week, considering that they didn't have a preseason, but. You know, this looks like a pretty solid list. I mean, when I was looking at the SRs, when I was looking at some of the games, these are the teams that stood out to me.
Capital, what about you?
Yeah, I 100% agree with NBC and with the list overall. Dino Nuggies had a really, really good start to the season. They have some returning players from, I believe, Venice Vipers, who won last season. And, I mean, you can't really argue with it. Hope Guardians and C522 had a really close matchup. I think they both looked pretty good. And Brig Divers in 2nd to round that out. I mean, can't be upset with the list.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting to see how this list develops. So only 1 week of play, so it's going to be interesting to see how these teams fade out as we go in. Now let's head over to Harmony North America here for our top 4 in that division. In those rankings, our top 8 actually, not top 4, because we have more teams in the North American side, so the EUs only have top 4. It makes more sense once you actually read it out loud. So heading into our Harmony NA top 8, we have, in 8th place, the Big Bang Buccaneers. 7th place, EX Kusanagi. 6th place, Ace High. 5th place, Geometric. 4th place, the Koala Kings. 3rd place, Galactic Penguins. 2nd place, Strix. And 1st place, the Flashbacks. NPC, start us off.
Okay, first of all, the Fighting Potatoes should be on this list. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. Actually, probably not. But you know who should be on this list? Is Jersey Boys. Every single season, they've been playing in Tranquility for like a long time. I think they joined like season 3 or something, and they've been playing a long time, 3 or 4, I don't remember. But they've been playing in Tranquility a long time, and we always sleep on Jersey Boys. I don't know why, but they're always like some sleeper hit. And sometime late in stage 2, Yeti will be looking through notes and go, "Oh my gosh, we didn't talk about Jersey Boys, and here they are in the finals." And we're like, of course. Okay, maybe not finals, but still like quarterfinals, semifinals. They always get there. They always make to the playoffs, and they get fairly deep, and nobody talks about them. So I feel like there's potential there for Jersey boys, and we're just not seeing them on a list because we don't talk about them.
Well, to be fair, they did not. They ended up forfeiting their match last week. So
Right.
Reason.
But that's the best part. It's a sleeper tactic, okay?
Mm-hmm. Sandbag at the start, and then you get better.
Sandbagging at the start. Yeah, they don't want anybody to see their strategies.
Yeah. Talk to the Dallas Fuel about that in season 1.
Sandbag in Overwatch 2.
Yeah,
A totally
yeah.
new game, and then just become goods.
Yeah.
Anyway, Capital. What about you?
I mean, I do like this list. I think there are a lot of good teams on here. I think Galactic Penguins are a bit too high. I think ranking them third is kind of not egregious, but kind of upsetting to me at least, because I think the teams they've beaten are Narwhal Connects in preseason and the Fighting Potatoes, who have not had the best track record before. And I think some teams like Ace High, who've gone a bit deeper, do deserve to be up higher. They've had really great pickups. So I think you switch those two, and I think the rankings will be fine.
Yeah, Harmony NA definitely be interesting to see how well these rankings go on as the season progresses. Let's move back across the pond. We're going to cover Discord EU here, our top 4 for Discord EU this time, actually, and not me reading the Harmony EU, thinking it's not me reading the Discord EU, thinking it's Harmony EU. Our Discord top 4, I already went over it, but pretty much it's 4th place Feeders Divided, 3rd place Mythical Kitsune, 2nd place Deathwatch, and 1st place Feeders United, your runner-ups from Harmony season last season. NPC, your thoughts?
It's a good list. It's pretty solid. I was looking at some of the EU teams, and it's a lot of new teams. A lot of new teams that we haven't seen before. We're gonna see some good stuff coming out of like CAM. Not sure what that stands for. We also have returning team Pay to Win that also could be up on this list, but these are especially Feeders United being as high as it is, and Mythical Kitsune coming in like it's a new team, but I believe there's some returning players on that one that at least sound familiar to me. But this is a pretty good list, but I feel like Kitsune maybe needs to go up one, maybe not quite to Feeders United level, but maybe just above Deathwatch.
Capital, what about you?
Yeah, so I'm thinking the exact opposite, right? So in my head, I'm thinking, okay, you have Feeders United, it's a name that's known, right? You have Feeders United, it's a known name. That's kind of why it's a bit higher up right now. I think Discord EU is a bit newer, obviously, to a lot of people, as it's its first season. I'm expecting Deathwatch and Mythical Kitsune to kind of take the top 2 spots. I think Deathwatch looked really, really good. I think I'd have them as my number 1. And I think you put Feeders United 3 and 4, but I think they have the right 4 teams.
Yeah, definitely. I think Mythical Kitsune came swinging in that feature match on Thursday. We didn't get to see the last map, but they did get the 4-0 over CAM. So, strong performance. We'll see if the Discord EU changes as time goes on. A lot of unknowns because we don't really know a lot of these teams. And I'm pretty sure, based on my calculations, there are only 3 returning players from Harmony EU, which I could be wrong about, but we'll see how it develops. Let's head back over to the Americas and cover Discord North America, our top 8 over there. In Discord North America top 8, in 8th place is the SEAL Team Spuds. 7th place is the Thunder Duckies. 6th place is Avalon. 5th place, the Galactic Gibbons. 4th place, Joey Esports. 3rd place, the Chicago Deep Dish. 2nd place, MI7. And 1st place, Reminiscence. Capital's 2 for 2 thus far in NA. Now, NPC, let's start with you.
Yeah, Reminiscence being at the top, I think I'm going to go with what Capital said about Feeders United. I feel like that's just a name we all recognize. Reminiscence, we're like, okay, that's going to be a good team. But there's a lot of good talent here on this list. Obviously, there's some other teams in Discord tier this season. I can pull up my list here and read them all off. But there's a lot of good talent on returning teams, the Ragnarok division, that kind of thing. But, when we're talking about Chicago Deep Dish, we're talking about MI7, we're talking about the SEAL Team Spuds, I feel like we got a lot of talent there. But this is a pretty solid top 8. I'm not sure about the order because we've only seen, 1 week, but it's pretty solid. But I'd bring Reminiscence down a little bit. I feel like they're getting by on name recognition.
Capital, what about you?
See, again, I'm gonna have to be a bit biased here. I think again another exact opposite. I think Rem has, and not to like talk up my own team, but they've beaten teams on this list, which I think is a big thing. Like they beat Gibbons in preseason with a different main tank, to be fair, and they beat MI7, who's in 2nd in preseason finals. So I think they kind of already have like those victories. And I think the team that's missing here would be Adelaide Esports, who Rem played in the first week. I think they looked really good. I think they they played against that team, they lost, but I think they'll definitely sneak into the Iris top 8. as the season goes on. I think they're a really, really good team. I think one team that might be a bit overrated here was actually on the lower side, Thunder Duckies. They played a team that was super, super new, kind of came in late, and they kind of have that org notoriety. The fire-breathing rubber duckies is really good. They brought up a lot of players, but I do think this top 8 is pretty solid overall.
Definitely be interesting again to see how this forms and if Reminiscence stays at that top spot or not. Let's finish out the Iris top teams with our Transcendence tier top 8. Starting in 8th place, we have 413 Catalyst, the new team entering the season, along with Classified in 7th and Frostfisher in 6th, and Sydney Sunsets in 5th. There's a lot of new teams in Transcendence here. I'm trying here. But we actually get into some familiar territory with Devil Dukes in 4th, Amnesia in 3rd, so Capital does not get the org sweep in this week yet. Decapitators taking 2nd, and in 1st place is your reigning champions, the Guangzhou Gangsters NPC. Your thoughts?
You know what? It's pretty solid top 8. Guangzhou Gangsters, another one of those teams. I told you that they're just like, oh, we're just memeing this season. We're not trying hard. We're gonna play some weird stuff, and we did see some very strange compositions coming out of Gangsters during their feature match on Thursday. We saw like a really weird like Genji dive kind of composition. We saw Cam playing multiple roles. You know, we get to see them kind of flexing, and yet they still ended up with that 4-0 in a very dominating performance. So I feel like maybe they do belong at the top there because they claim to be just kind of messing around. There is some evidence to support that. But if they do kick it into high gear, you know, they can definitely play at the top of that list. But like I said, we've got people that aren't on this list, like Death Cards and NYAA and Decapitators. Oh, the Decapitators are there. Thank goodness. Okay.
Yeah,
I was like, man, if Decapitators are there. Okay, they're there. But we got some teams that, you know, like I said, people are like, oh, we're just memeing this season. But that mentality only goes so far. At a certain point, you're going to lose too many games. You can be like, okay, let's actually play some roles, play some team comps, play some meta heroes, and we're going to see this list shuffle quite a bit.
Capital, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that I saw from this list was where are Death Cards? I mean, Death Cards, they have that notoriety as well. I mean, they lost to Guangzhou Gangsters on stream. That's episode 6, who won last season. They didn't look terrible. Death Cards has Delphi, who again is a returner. They have they have Orsted, who's great. They have Chase. They have who were like on decaps last season, did great.
DNA.
They have DNA, who I love. They have Crazy, this new main tank. Is super, super quiet right now, right? Don't know this guy. Nobody knows this guy, but he's nuts. I guarantee you, this guy Crazy is gonna go bonkers. When Overwatch 2 hit, this guy's gonna go bonkers. Death Cards needs to be on this list. I think Classified, I think they played an easier team on the easier side in Culture. I definitely can see Classified dropping off this list eventually. But all the other teams are pretty set. I mean, not set, but they all went 1-0. Every team on this list won. So, I mean, that's probably why. There's 18 teams, and of 9 of the teams that won, 8 of them are on here. This is a power rankings, guys, not a standings. Come on, CCT team, let's put it together. Let's make sure we don't just rank all the 1-0 teams, because I definitely think there's some 0-1 teams that are just as good that can be on this list.
Well, to be fair, when it came to Harmony NA, we did have Big Bang Buccaneers who did lose their first week match. So
I'm talking about in trans tier. We need to do some more information gathering.
I will give you that. I don't think I voted for most of the trans team, but still, definitely going to be interesting to see how well that moves around. But that is all for our top 8. And now it's time to go into our discussion of the week. Our main topic of the week is instant overreactions. The first week has happened, which means it's time to make prejudices about how every team's season is going to go based on only the first week and their results in the first week. So I'll be asking these analysts a question, and their job is to basically judge this team's entire season based off of their week 1 results, or at least what they think of this team's results. So okay. It's an interesting topic. We played this last season with different analysts. Unfortunately, both of those analysts are currently playing in a tournament, so I could not have them on board. But still, these analysts will have to see how well they can judge, and they'll most likely get roasted on Twitter next week when this team makes a turnaround. Mm-hmm. I don't make the rules here. Let's move on to the first question of the day. NPC, I'm going to be asking you, and starting off with Harmony EU. The Dino Nuggies, they got a big 4-0 sweep over Hive Mind after coming in as the favorite to win the group. What are your thoughts on the Dino Nuggies?
I'm going to rely back on Apathy's notes here, because he wrote here that There's a lot of star power from last season's successful EU Harmony teams. Dino Nuggies, they're going to be the favorites because of that name recognition. You've got players from Hellhounds, players from Venice Vipers, the champions, players from Apollo. You've got players from a lot of good top tier teams coming together to form essentially a super team, and we all expect good things coming from this team. Now that puts a target on your back at times because people are like, okay, this is the team to beat. They're going to be the flashbacks of Harmony EU. They're going to be like, okay, everybody's got a gun for this team, and it's a lot of pressure. So hopefully they don't crack under pressure. But Apathy and I both see them doing really well this stage. Maybe 4-1 for this stage.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting to see how well Dino Nuggies play out in Stage 1 and in our EU tournament. Capital, I'm going to move on to you with our second question of the day, or at least the second question of Harmony EU and our last question of Harmony EU. The Hope Guardians. They are comprised of multiple members of a former A10 eSport team from last season. They pulled up a 2-1 win over Celsius 522 in our EU feature match. What are your thoughts on the Hope Guardians?
I think they looked really good. I think that feature match was a really, really good showing for Harmony EU. I think the level of play in the tier has kind of leveled up from last season as well. Again, I think both these teams are really good. Hope Guardians pulling off a close victory obviously bodes well for their mental going into the rest of the season. You get those victories that are close, you take them, and you're like, okay, well, there's a lot for us to improve upon, but you get that clutch gene, and it really sets you up to not only improve, but stay confident for the rest of the season, and I think it's really big. I think Hope Guardians are on the rise.
Yeah, definitely Hope Guardians. It'll be interesting to see how well they're able to perform this season after that feature match. We're going to move back over to the Americas here for our Harmony North America questions, and we're going to start off with you, NPC. I have to talk about them. Flashbacks, our preseason champions, come into week 1, and they end up almost losing their first match to Narwhal Connects. They won 2-1, but still a very close match. What are your thoughts so far, NPC, on Flashbacks?
No team is invincible. Flashbacks have a fantastic, stellar record of gameplay, but no team is invincible. Not even the San Francisco Shock. And, the Flashbacks can be beaten. I'm going to tell you right now, they have a reputation of being a powerhouse team, okay? But they're playing very tight. They're playing a really great game. I watched some of their play, and it's just fantastic. But, next stage, new meta, new game, nothing's guaranteed for the Flashbacks. So, you see them and you think, okay, the Flashbacks are going to be really good this year, every single year. But they've got a whole new roster every single year, and it's going to be a whole new ballgame. So I'm not one of those people that's going to say Flashbacks going all the way again this year, because it just can't happen several years in a row. It's just how it is.
Yeah, definitely Flashbacks. I mean, the Capitol knows himself, season 6 Flashbacks about Flashbacks not being invisible. So
I'd hope they're not invisible. I mean,
he wants them to be weak.
I mean,
you hear it here, Flashbacks first.
I mean, the biggest thing, right, is it's not every other season. It's not every season. It's every other season. I gotta go like this on purpose, right?
Fair.
You win 5, you lose 6. You win 7, then we took 8 off, and now it's 9. It's on purpose.
I will give you that. It is part of the Tranquility script. Flashbacks, if they don't win the championship, it's Capital's fault for jinxing them. Capital, now with that out of the way, I want to talk to you about the Big Bang Buccaneers. A very strong performance in the preseason. Actually went to map 5 against Flashbacks in the semifinals for the preseason. But they lost to EX Kusanagi in a reverse sweep in their first week. What are your thoughts on Big Bang Buccaneers? Or EX Kusanagi?
I'll give you my thoughts on both. I think BV, the loss is fluky. I think they're still a good team. They have a lot of good ideas when they play. And I think X Kusanagi also kind of just showed up. Again, NPC was talking about targets on their back and Flashbacks, but also Big Bang Buccaneers in a big way had done so well last season and then did well in the playoffs. You put X Kusanagi in, maybe they're a bit newer team, but I know they have some players that know a bit about the community. They come in and they go, okay, we're gonna play really, really well, and they did. And I think BB kind of like got in their own head about losing map 5s. I think it wasn't a reverse sweep. I don't think, but was it?
I think it was a reverse sweep. I
can
check.
I think the mental kind of got maybe lost there, but I think again still super fluky. I'm expecting both these teams kind of to end 4-1 because I think both these teams are going to be really good.
It was indeed a reverse sweep. I just checked that right now based on the official sheets. So it was a reverse sweep. So it'll be interesting to see how well both of them do. Again, Big Bang Buccaneers. Apathy when Apathy filled the script earlier, he said that they continued their streak of losing map 5s. So we'll see if they're able to get over that fear of map 5s in their future. NPC, let's move back over to you. The preseason runner-up Strix. I know we've been talking a lot about the preseason frontrunners, but Strix, the preseason runner-ups, very good start to their season. A clean sweep over FBRD to start off the season. Your thoughts on Strix and or FBRD?
So FBRD is a returning team, but a lot of the players on that team are new. So it's a very unknown, and a lot of these players have been, only playing together a short period of time. But when we look at Strix, we've got a lot of returning players. We got a whole organization that has been together for a long time with a lot of returning players. Optibot, Jimbo, Phantom, that kind of thing. Mixer, Kraken. There's a lot of great players over there, and I feel like Strix is going to dominate their pool, probably coming in the top 2 spots.
Strix definitely looking like a big powerhouse so far this season. Be interesting to see how well they fare up against FBRD and the rest of the tier as they go along. Capital, we're going to end off Harmony NA with you. We're going to talk about a new team to the tournament this season. Insidious, a very rough preseason for them, but they took a map 5 victory over Chrysalis, who was last season's playoff dark horse. Your thoughts on Insidious and or Chrysalis?
I mean, I think Insidious, when you look at their preseason, wasn't actually that bad. They lost to a really, really good team. And again, I think on the side of Chrysalis, they aren't exactly what they used to be in terms of Season 7, Season 8. I think they're definitely a bit weaker because they've lost.
Yeah, sorry, it was an issue. Hold on. I'm getting it back online. Hold on. I don't have you guys back. There we go. All right. I think we're back now. There we go.
Where did I stop?
I have no idea, but you could probably say the entire thing and it wouldn't matter anyway.
Yeah, Insidious good.
Nobody was listening.
Insidious good, winning close games, good for mental. They'll take the stuff they got wrong and work on it. Chrysalis has a good bounce back next week against Ragnarok Freya, but it's no cakewalk. They need to right the ship now.
Okay, I'm hoping that went through. If not, then blame my college for constantly having terrible Ethernet. I will say right now, this is the second season in a row that this has happened. I'm sick of it, and I need to talk to my IT as soon as possible. But anyway, seems like, yep, Glitch got that, so I'm going to assume that the summary went through and everything worked out fine. So we're going to move on now to Discord EU. Starting off NPC, we're going to talk about the featured team last week, Mythical Kitsune. They came out with a strong 4-0 win over CAM. Your thoughts on Mythical Kitsune and CAM?
CAM has several players below the tier floor. I think this is a team that, was kind of built and they were like, well, we've got a couple players that are too good for Harmony tier, so let's go ahead and play up. So I think getting some experience and helping them grow into that Discord tier, I think they're capable. I just think they need to play together a little longer and get some of that scrim experience against those 3.1K, 3.2K teams and, get them up there to that level. But as of right now, that basically just means that Kitsune really didn't face a worthy opponent this last week. I'd like to see how they perform against somebody like Feeders Divided, which is this week. And that map is gonna decide what Mythical Kitsune can really do. I said that they should be a little higher in the power rankings. I think that they're a good team, but they need to prove it this week. It's put up or shut up.
Yeah, definitely will be interesting to see how well Kitsune do. Capital, to finish out Discord EU, let's talk about Feeders United, last year's Harmony EU runner-ups. They did really well so far. They also started off their week really well with a 4-0 win over Dragon's Aura to start off their season. Your thoughts on Feeders United and or Dragon's Aura?
I mean, to touch on Feeders United at least, I think they're kind of looking to carry over that good season they had in Harmony EU. And them and their counterparts, Feeders Divided, I'd hope their counterparts, they have very similar logos and the same name. So if they don't become counterparts, I think they're kind of looking to create a dynasty in the EU division overall, in Harmony, in the NA, in the Harmony division, in the Discord division. They did really well last season. They have 2 teams in the Discord division this time, and then I hope they come back next season. I'm hoping there's one at least. No, there should be, but yeah, but United like kind of create the first huge like org thing in EU, and I think that'll be really good for the stabilization of the EU tier. And I think Feeders United and Feeders Divided are kind of paving that way. I think they're going to do really well, both of them this season, and it's going to be a battle when they play. I'm excited for those 2 to play each other.
Yeah, definitely be interesting to see how well those 2 do, or at least Feeders United and Feeders Divided do. Let's move back over to the Discord NA, and thankfully I'm glad that my 2 original analysts, Apathy and Train, were not here, because NPC, we're going to talk about Cosmic Castaways, last season's champions. They lost 3-1 to Galactic Gimmons in their first week after losing 3-0 in their first preseason game against Reminiscence. Your thoughts on Cosmic Castaways and or Galactic Gimmons?
Cosmic Castaways, they're another one of those returning teams with new players. They're definitely not a very, the same team that they used to be. Apathy wrote notes here that said that Castaways is probably going to end up being a B group team for stage 2. His confidence isn't that high, but he does have confidence because Polar is behind the wheel there. And they have upgraded their main tank to Magic Otter. So now they feel like that's a better main tank. They're in a great position to play some little more unusual compositions around Wrecking Ball, things like that. So I look forward to seeing their growth over the season, but we're not expecting miracles in stage 1.
Will definitely be interesting to see how well those 2 teams do as the season goes on. Cap, we're going to move it over to you and the infamous Joseph Electronic Sports. For the first time, I actually looked this up when I was setting this up. For the first time since week 3 of season 6, Joey Esports went to a map 5 in the regular season against the SEAL Team Spuds, or at least that was the first time that they went to map 5 in the regular season since that time. But for the first time in their org history, they were able to win a map 5 in the regular season, taking that victory over SEAL Team Spuds. Your thoughts on both Joey Esports and SEAL Team Spuds, or one or the other?
I think this is a really big matchup for Orme and Discord. This is Orm or Indigo? I think this is Orme.
This is Orme, yes.
Yeah, and you have Joey and Spuds. I mean, they're both really good teams. I think they kind of look to be the 1A, 2A in that division. Spuds, I know we're missing their flex support, Zorthcon, who I've heard high praises about. I believe their flight was delayed over and over again, so they had a DPS on flex support. But again, and as NPC was referencing earlier when you brought this up, I think this is going to be a really, really good rivalry all season, and I'm really, really looking forward to seeing how these 2 teams kind of turn out, and I hope they play each other in playoffs, kind of with that rematch with full rosters, and see where it goes, because I think these teams are going to be really neck and neck all season, and even can't get upset at my voice.
Marsupio versus Starchy is starting to turn into an anime arc here in Tranquility. We'll see how it goes along as the season continues. Moving on, NPC, we're going to move over to the reigning Harmony tier champs who move up to Discord tier this season, Doodles. The infamous Doodles moved up to Discord tier, and they ended up getting a win over Reckless Upsilon, another new team, but it was in a 3-2 reverse sweep. But a win's a win either way. Your thoughts on Doodles and or Reckless Upsilon?
So Doodles is another team that is returning. They've got a couple of their core players returning from last season, a couple of them locking below the tier floor, and they're trying to move up into Discord tier, which is great for them. We love to see the growth, but it's going to require a little bit of a learning curve coming out of them. So Reckless has been an organization that's been in every tier in Tranquility in the past, so they've got that experience. They've got that coaching and that infrastructure available to help them. So I feel like we're going to see a Reckless org do a little bit better. Doodles is probably going to struggle a little bit in the first stage. But once again, stage 2 comes with a new game, new meta, new heroes. We'll just have to wait and see. But stage 1 is looking, the win is a win, but they got a little bit of growing to do.
It'd definitely be interesting to see how well Doodles grow as the season go on. They did just pick up a new player, so we'll see if that helps them out as the season progresses. Capital, to wrap up Discord NA, we're going to move over to you. Hades, a sister team to Poseidon, who has been a regular Discord team for a few seasons now, comes into the season for their first season and ends up taking down the preseason semifinalists in Adrenaline's 3-1 in the first week. Your thoughts on Hades and or Adrenaline?
I mean, started off with Adrenalines. I think they had a kind of a easier run in the preseason bracket, and they kind of got taken out once they played MI7. I thought I was pretty high on them, but after this win, I think it was a bit scrappy, which is a bit rough. And I think even though their pool is very winnable, they're gonna have a hard time stage 1. Whereas Hades on the other side, I mean, they look great winning the matchup against Adrenaline, sets them up. I mean, a win is a win, 1-0. I think they're going into this game now against S9W2, who, I mean, was on stream last week against Avalon. They did get 4-0'd, but I think that was some really, really good Overwatch from the Avalon S9W2 game. I think Hades is going to come into a team that is 0-1 and is hungry to win a game. I think they're going to have a tough game against F972. But both these teams, and especially Hades, did look really good, though. I think I'd watch that game next week as well, of the F972 Hades game, because I think that's going to be a really good game as well. So, yeah, I mean, I expect bigger things for Hades than I had expected for Poseidon in the past. So that's definitely a good note, because I think Hades is in a good position in a pool that's winnable.
So when you say Fahrenheit 972, I assume you mean Fahrenheit 214, which is...
I meant 214. Yeah. Yes, 100%. Numbers are not a thing.
Yeah.
Those are lies.
Listen, it's much better than last season, where both of the logos looked exactly the same.
I have a bone to pick. Why is the lower heat amount in a higher division?
I mean, that's up to NPC to answer, because he runs
NPC.
those
Tell
divisions.
me why F214 is lower than F972 when it's hotter.
Okay, so F214 was the original name of the group. The little sign behind me right there, 214.
Yeah.
214 is the original area code for Dallas, the 3-digit prefix.
Okay.
And then when we ran out of phone numbers, 972 was the second number to be adopted by the area. And then when we ran out of numbers for that one, we have 469, which was our Transcendence tier number. Okay. And 552 is the Celsius equivalent, the European equivalent of 214, which is why we do it that way.
Okay, so just change
214 was the original team.
But it doesn't matter, though. But yeah, so if 214 was the original Harmony tier team, why are they in Discord tier now and just put F972 in?
Because a lot of it's the same group of people that just moved up.
Okay.
This is why I don't usually have Capital on any shows, because he just keeps picking fights and debates with everybody.
I was confusing. The NPC explained it great. Thank you, NPC, for being so considerate.
It has nothing to do with temperature. It's actually more about the area codes and how the area codes originated, and then how the teams originated. We started, the first team was 214. And then once that roster moved up to Discord tier, we were like, well, now we have to have a whole other team. So we started.
This is a beat drop conversation.
Yeah,
this is a beat drop conversation.
This is a beat drop conversation or a history class conversation to talk about, Tranquility history and or team history. Speaking of Tranquility,
the area codes of Dallas. Tune in to hear more.
Speaking of Tranquility history, though, let's move over to the Transcendence tier and last season's champions, Guangzhou Gangsters. A very rough preseason, did not win a map. But they come in to the first week with their feature match and a dominating performance in their first match, winning a full sweep over the Def Cards. NPC, your thoughts on Guangzhou and or Def Cards?
So I think I talked about this before with one of the matches I wanted to talk about from last week. But Death Cards and the Gangsters are just like, they're both saying, oh, we're memeing right now. We're just kind of playing around. And that kind of shows for Guangzhou, right? They lost in the preseason. And so they showed up and they all put on Dallas Fuel skins. I don't know if you noticed that during the feature match, but every single player that first map had a Dallas Fuel skin on. And it was a beautiful thing. And that's what led them to win that 4-0. But other than that, I feel like that's another symptom of like, they just kind of here to meme. They're here to, have a good time. But then if they lose, if they start under pressure, their mentals are going to change. They're going to go into that next high gear. And then they're going to come back and win. So I'm not worried at all. There's nothing to worry about if you're Guangzhou Gangsters, right? I'm not worried about that at all. But Death Cards, they're memeing a little too hard right now, and maybe they're just having fun with it. But eventually, it will get into their mental, and then they will start taking it seriously. So we're going to see Death Cards. We're going to see their redemption arc happen a little later. But Guangzhou's already started theirs. They're just looking good, and they're just going to keep looking better.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting to see how well both of those teams do. Capital, let's move over to you and our next topic, which is Reckless Sigma, the Reckless Org. They lost 4-0 against the Decapitators in their first match of the season. it also ruined a perfect regular season record for their player O Canada, which is was unheard of in Tranquility. For 2 seasons, he had been undefeated in regular season matches, and now it's all gone in an instant. Your thoughts on Decapitators and Reckless Sigma, and if you want to include it, O Canada.
Yeah, so I mean, I think O Canada did switch roles for the season. It takes a while to kind of get into the mojo of a new role. He's still a really good player. He's still a really, really good player, and I expect him to learn quick. But it's tough to play against, in my opinion, the top team in Trans Tier and Decapitators right off the bat. You know what I mean? I expect Decaps to be really, really good, and I expect Reckless Sigma to bounce back in a big way against the rest of that pool, which I think is definitely on the softer side compared to them. I mean, I think O Canada is going to be really, really good as the stages and season goes on. Again, playing a tough team on week 1 when you're transitioning to a new role, this is probably your first one of the first official games, at least in Tranquility, for him on DPS. I mean, you gotta give him slack there. So a perfect record on tank in the regular season is a good way to put it. I think that still stays.
Yeah, definitely be interesting to see how well Reckless Sigma does. I am a fan of the Reckless Org, so I can say hopefully they bounce back because I want to see the Reckless Org succeed. NPC, we're going to move over to you with your final question of the night for Transcendence Tier. The Sydney Sunsets, a new team this season run by the most well-known Hayden, if you are a fan of Bad Pachimari League. They come in and they win a big win, 3-1 over the preseason runner-ups in NYAA. Your thoughts on Sydney Sunsets and or NYAA?
So, NYAA, like I said, been playing in Tranquility a long, long time. Season 4, I believe. So 4 seasons now, 5 seasons. And Sydney Sunsets is new. So Sydney Sunsets and, was it the Eclipse? Adelaide Eclipse, yes. They're the same org. They have very similar logos, similar stylings. I really like that. At first, I thought Sydney Sunsets was yet another marsupial org, and I kind of facepalmed for a second. But thankfully, that is not the case. It's neither a mammal nor a marsupial of any kind. So I'm relieved. But we got a lot of new players coming in here. And like you said, Hayden is a well-known, well-respected person. So I feel like we're going to start putting more eyes on these teams, these 2 teams in particular, the Sydney Sunsets and the Adelaide Eclipse, just because they're coming in here, they're making a name for themselves, they're making a statement. Hey, we're here, and there's actually a better Australian team in Tranquility now, which is good for us. So I like seeing that, and I think NYAA they're gonna struggle a little bit, but Sydney Sunsets making a strong start, and I hope to see them continue.
Reborn says, please do not confuse Hayden org teams with marsupial org teams because they are very, very different things. Despite the fact Hayden runs a marsupial org team this season in Koala Kings, we're not going to confuse the 2 together. But speaking of
marsupial adjacent.
Might as well call them friends of marsupial. Speaking of marsupial, Capital, we're going to talk about a marsupial team, at least in the lower part of it. 413 Catalysts. Pull up what I say is the upset of a tier. They won 3-2 over last season's quarterfinalists in the Billings Boomers, a marsupial org team. Your thoughts on 413 Catalyst and Billings Boomers?
I think this game was really, really close. It was super scrappy. I think both teams looked a bit shaky in this first matchup, though. 413 Catalyst kind of did pull it out with that clutch gene, though I do think these teams kind of look a bit like, okay, let's get into this Overwatch 2 mode already. I think eventually these teams will get comfy enough to make runs into the playoffs, kind of into that quarterfinalist mode. But I don't expect huge things of these teams right now. But even 4-3 Catalyst, they pulled out the game. That's what's super, super important. And I expect these teams to improve a lot as the season goes on.
Definitely 413 Catalyst. It'll be interesting to see how well they do, along with Billings Boomers. A lot of veteran talent on both of those from all ages of Tranquility. But that is it. That is all our instant overreactions. If any of them are wrong, don't worry, because they most likely will be wrong, unless they're about the top teams like Flashbacks, Rem, Guangzhou. It depends on how well it does.
I hope we're wrong about Flashbacks. I really
hope we're wrong.
I hate Flashbacks, and I hate Reminiscence so much.
Even the manager of Flashbacks hates Flashbacks.
They hate me. I hate them. It's a mutual relationship. I've been kicked off. I couldn't even join the Reminiscence scrims or games for 2 weeks. They banned me because I was being too mean to them. That's not a joke. I'm a terror. I'm a dictator, but I hate those teams. So.
This is what this is what our show has come down to. But
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah. Definitely also get your giveaway entries
Right.
in. We're gonna be doing
yes,
giveaways.
make sure you get your giveaway entries in, as we are going to be doing a giveaway for a free shirt from our store over at shop.spreadshirt.com/tranquilitygg. I have to get used to saying that as well.
I was about to correct you, and you got it. You nailed it.
Yeah,
Tranquility
I-
GG now.
I had to figure that out myself, so I knew what it was from the first.
Exclamation mark store.
I think exclamation point store. Yes, still has the correct link. Great job to everybody who set that up correct. But yeah, make sure you get your entries in, as we're going to be pulling for that t-shirt after our comms check, which we've already seen a lot of ridiculous comms. Of course, every week we showcase the most ridiculous comms from every single team in Tranquility, or at least the ones that we feel like are the best. If you want to submit them, there is a channel in our Discord that you can submit for every single week. This week's comm check was edited by Caden, so thank you very much, Caden, for this week's comms check.
Meow 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 meow.
Oh my
Like rice is literally just like the most common food.
It's like bread and bread.
It's the water of food.
Dude, it is literally.
One of my friends thought your name was Didn't You?
Molten core!
Actually, please stop dodging my healing. Oh God, stop running away from my love!
Yes, Queen.
LCO!
Seriously.
Hey.
These headphones are really loud. Please don't.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, look, Castmane.
I'm just gonna.
Ignore it. Don't let that 10% be real, because we need a main tank. I can't do this again.
Actual
What did I join into?
What did you join into?
We're adding boobs.
So for the record, that Thunder Duckies clip, that is something I've feared since coming into college would happen to me in Tranquility. Thankfully, it hasn't happened yet. Thank you very much, Caden, for that comms check video, and that is all for our weekly videos. Make sure you get those submissions in if you want to be featured in those videos. Now it's time for our final section, our matches to watch of the week. Of course, we have a bunch of matches going on this week. NPC, we'll start with you. What is your match that you're watching this week?
Tomorrow night's feature match right here on twitch.tv/tranquilitygg. Tomorrow night at 9 o'clock Eastern. Moved it back a little bit. Big Bang Buccaneers versus Geometric. These are going to be two powerhouse teams. Big Bang Buccaneers getting their chance to not get reverse swept this time, and Geometric coming in looking pretty hot. But I still think that Big Bang Buccaneers are going to take this 3-1.
Capital, what about you?
I mean, the team that I had two games to watch, right? So I had Flashbacks versus Aces High. Obviously, I think that's gonna be a really good game. But because I'm not part of it, I don't really want to talk about it. Another game that I think that's gonna be really, really good to watch is gonna be this Reckless Sigma versus Krabby Crabbers game. Krabby Crabbers are coming off a win against Palm Beach Poggers, 3-1. I mean, a bit loosey goosey here sometimes. But I think Krabby Crabbers kind of took the win pretty confidently. And then on the other side, you have Reckless Sigma. They have to bounce back from the Decapitators. I think they can show their stuff against Krabby Crabbers. I think these teams are really, really well balanced. And I really do want Krabby Crabbers to take out the dub because I love the name and the logo. But I think Reckless Sigma is going to win in a close one, 3-2.
Definitely going to be interesting to see how well Sigma and Krabby Crabbers do. I'm looking at the Discord tier, which means, once again, we have all split into different tiers. But I'm going to be looking at Galactic Gimmons versus Chicago Deep Dish. Chicago Deep Dish. We've talked about them being a good team. We saw them on the Iris Top 8. However, this is their first real test, especially with Gibbons coming off of a big win up against the Cosmic Castaways last week. It's going to be interesting to see how well this match does and if the Deep Dish can live up to their name over in UGC and come over to Trank in a more dominating fashion. But I'm going to say a 3-2 victory for the Galactic Gibbons. I have hope in that Galactic Orb. They've done a lot of good things in the past, so I say they take home the win on there. Now, if those predictions aren't enough for you, I've got some good news. Right after this broadcast, we have our second episode of Predicting Tranquility, where Nerfed, and I believe Phoenix and our little friend Capital up here. I don't know if it's probably...
Okay. Bowsy, you were like 5'3".
I meant a little friend. I didn't mean a little friend as in as in tiny. I meant you are a friend in a way.
And then also
you're a little bit of a friend. Like
you're a little bit of a friend. That's
yeah. Okay.
And it's also apple. It's a plum.
It's a plum. I know. I just checked it. I apologize to Phoenix and a plum for completely forgetting that I am totally on track and I totally write these things down. Oh wait, no, I didn't. Moving on. Predicted Tranquility is going to be right after the show where they're going to be predicting every single match happening this week, and there might be some rankings from last week. I still don't have any certainty, but let's hope there is because rankings are very interesting throughout the entirety of the season. We also have the Beat Drop starting next Thursday. Sign-ups will be posted later today, so you can sign up for the Beat Drop to have a chance to get interviewed and talked to by our Tranquility content creation team. We also have some feature matches for you. We're trying to get a Tuesday Harmony EU feature match, but we do have a Harmony NA feature match. NPC mentioned it earlier, as I point in the right direction. NPC mentioned it. It is Big Bang Buccaneers versus Geometric at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we have our Transcendence North America feature match between Culture and the Palm Beach Poggers, which will be an interesting one. That Thursday at 9 p.m. Central European Time, we have our Discord European feature match between Dragon's Aura and Deathwatch. And we close out the week with our Discord North America match on Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Distance Time, where Adrenalines take on Doodles. It's going to be an interesting week, to say the least, so be interesting to see how well all these teams go in their preseason matches. We also have some interesting announcements to show to you guys. Event week signups are beginning in 1 week. We're also going to be moving the admin pugs. Usually the admin pugs were always at the end of event week. We always had them on the last Friday, but with Overwatch 2 coming out during event week, we have made the decision, based on a community vote, to move admin pugs 1 week earlier. Admin pugs will be happening on September 30th during Overwatch 1, so we can say goodbye to Overwatch 1 in its 6v6 fashion with a bunch of fun events with our admin pugs. You do not want to miss that. That is the beginning of event week here in Tranquility. We also have the announcement that we're going to be having a special Fall Guys night on September 18th. That is a Sunday. Crown winners will be eligible for a giveaway at the end of the event. So if you want to enjoy Fall Guys with the Tranquility community, make sure to come by and try to earn yourself some crowns and maybe even a chance at a free t-shirt or any sort of giveaway that we might be doing that day. Speaking of free
Fall Guys is free still,
yeah,
right?
Fall Guys is also
free to play for everybody. Just install it on your Switch or your PC or whatever.
Yeah. It is free to install, free to play, so you can enjoy that free to play. Speaking of t-shirt giveaways, NPC, I'm pretty sure we have a drawing for a free t-shirt from our store.
We do, and the winner of the Tranquility t-shirt is random number generator, please. Thank you. Perfect. Is Thuggington here? Wow.
No, he isn't.
Growloo.
No.
The giveaway. So just somebody will be in contact with you, Growloo, to get that shirt, and you'll find out what logo you want, what size, what color, and an address. Make sure to include your full name and address and zip code and state and all that stuff on there, because a lot of times we just get like, yeah, I live at 123 Main Street. Send it. Bye. And we're like, no. We need
more information. We need the specifics.
We want to know what
yeah. So somebody will contact you.
Unless you say surprise me, in which case then we might give you a surprise logo. Depends on.
Yeah, you're going to get a shirt with my head on it. That's what happened. So it does exist in the store, by the way. If you want to buy a shirt with my head on it, it is available.
That is good to know for anybody who wants to have NPC's head on a shirt that they can wear around, maybe on their college
I think we've sold 5 of them.
That's concerning. That's 5 too many.
That's 5. That is 5 too many.
That's 5 too many.
But anyway, that is going to do it for us here from the Iris Podcast. For Capital and NPC, as I pointed in the wrong direction once again, for Capital and NPC, my name has been Bowsy. We thank you all for gazing into the Iris with us here. We hope you have an amazing night and enjoy predicting Tranquility, and we hope you have an amazing week here in Tranquility Gaming.
Experience tranquility. Pass into the Iris.